McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. Tender, juicy, and its own sauce. Would you look at that? Well, you can't see it, but trust me, it looks delicious. New McCrispy strips, now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You know what makes every outfit look better? The right bra from Third Love. Their bras make it easy to ultimate cleavage, a smooth look, or even stop your shirt buttons from pulling. They make over 60 sizes, including half cups you won't find anywhere else, so you'll find your perfect fit. Third Love solves bra problems, or what they call broblems. Real women test every style they make. Comfort and support are guaranteed. So stop settling for bad bras. You deserve better. Get your problem solved today. Save $15 on your first order with code podcast15 at thirdlove.com.
1/3 of all murder cases in America remain open.
He had told me that if I opened my eyes, he would slit my throat.
Each one is called a cold case.
The DNA evidence taken from the victim was a match. The Linden rapist was at it again.
Based on the hit A&E television program.
A phone call is placed, one that changes a family's life forever.
Cold Case Files, the podcast.
You could see the fire in his eyes. He screamed at me, "You want it? Get your tape recorder out."
Get new episodes of Cold Case Files every Tuesday on Podcast One, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 319 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing really good.
That's
you know, before I forget, I want to tell everybody that you and I are taking a vacation next week.
We are.
I think pretty well deserved. I don't know. We don't take many of them, but we figured it's about halfway in the middle of the year.
That's right.
It's the 4th of July weekend, and it's a good time to take off. And then we'll probably take another one off around Christmas like we normally do.
I hope you got me a nice room wherever we're going.
We're not doing anything together,
Oh.
so don't even put that out there.
That's not good.
But it should be a good time to try to recharge. We have so much out, Gibbs, right now. On Saturday, we dropped a new Patreon episode on the murder of Jacob Hendershot.
Yeah.
Jacob went to Florida in 2011 to reconnect with his biological mother. He met a girl there and they started dating. A few weeks later, he went missing. It turned out that he ended the relationship with this girl. She claimed she was a vampire, and there's a whole lot
going on.
A lot going on in that episode. And then on TCAT, we have an episode out on Roswell Gilbert. And a very different type of episode.
It really is.
For us, Roswell was convicted of murdering his wife of 51 years. The prosecution, said that he planned it. His wife suffered from Alzheimer's and had osteoporosis. He said it was a mercy killing. And so, I don't want to give too much away, but it's a very fascinating case and with all the circumstances and stuff. Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs.
Okay.
We had RD Perky.
What's up, Perky?
Mike, Kristen, Kyler, and Jared Dewerson.
There's the Dewersons.
Fly Army 20s Girl.
What up, Fly Army?
Alyssa Fleck.
Hey, Alyssa.
Emma Myers.
Hey, hi, Emma.
Lori Carando.
Well, Carando.
Katrin McCall.
Hey, Katrin.
Rob Bedard.
Hey, thank you, Rob.
Irene Nimson Tansky jumped out higher than her highest level.
You're awesome, Irene.
Laurel Wilson.
Hey, Laurel.
Shanna Pickett.
Well, appreciate that, Pickett.
Clifford Hoskins.
Hey, Clifford.
Jessica Haytrack jumped out at her highest level.
Hey, what's up, Haytrack?
Aaron Ken Martin.
Hey, Ken Martin.
Andrew Essen.
Appreciate that, Andrew.
And last but not least, Jennifer Molnar.
Awesome, Jennifer.
And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Magnus Abramson.
Appreciate that, Abramson.
Yeah, it's awesome. We also had a great PayPal donation from Tommy Swinney. So we appreciate everything, right?
Really
Patreon, PayPal, anybody who chooses to support the show in that way is amazing. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I'm ready.
We're talking about the unsolved murder of Alicia Hummel. Alicia Hummel went fishing by herself on June 1st, 2015. She kept her friends updated about what she was doing via Snapchats and texts. Less than an hour after her last communication, Alicia was found dead in the Missouri River, and 8 years later, her murder remains unsolved. Alicia Hummel was born on June 27th, 1985. Her parents are Laura Folkers Gilliam and James Wand. Alicia and her sister Erica Camp were raised by her grandparents, Jane and Dwayne Folkers, in Sioux City, Iowa. Alicia graduated high school in 2004. She graduated from South Dakota State University with a BS in Human Professions and Clinical Sciences Human Development and Family Studies Psychology. So that's a lot.
That is a whole lot
going on there. After graduation, she continued studying and got another BS in Communication Disorders at the University of South Dakota.
I also have a BS in communication.
That's funny because I'm pretty sure that's what my daughter has.
Yeah.
I know you don't. You are a BS in communications.
Exactly. I got a different BS.
Disorders. Laura Gilliam told the Des Moines Register that Alicia loved school and would have gone to school her whole life if she could have. Alicia's grandmother, Jan, told Dateline that she was proud of how much Alicia loved to learn.
And there are certain people just love school and just love to keep learning. And I get it, you know, not me personally.
Not me either.
But I know people that are like that.
Yeah. So there are people that, if they could, would spend their whole life in academia in whatever way, teaching, going to school, and just keep getting degrees and degrees and degrees. For me, it was always, how do I get through this?
Yes.
How do I get done with this so that I can keep going?
Move to the next step.
Yeah. On June 30th, 2011, Alicia married Tony Hummel. Her friend Bethany Svazina introduced the pair in high school. Alicia was looking into getting a master's degree at the time of her death. Her friend Jody Hansen told Dateline that Alicia loved children so much, she decided to get a teaching job at a preschool. She had been working at Siouxland Family Center in Dakota City since 2013. She taught early Head Start classes for infants and toddlers. Alicia loved her job and looked forward to going to work every day. Now, if that is true, if you're a person who absolutely loves your job and you get up in the morning bubbly, just thinking about getting to work, that is great.
That is great.
That is not most people.
It is not.
It was never me.
Well, that's for sure.
First of all, I'm not a very good morning person. It takes me 6 cups of coffee before I'm even tolerable.
Yeah. Let's be 100% accurate. Everybody at the office knew when you came in, pretty much just leave you alone.
Give me a little bit.
Let you get your coffee at the office. And we don't know how much you had before you even came there, but we knew you had to get that coffee at the office and before you were presented with any problems.
You know, when I was working, I never drank coffee at home. I always drank it at the office. So I didn't have any in me. So it was a good tactic. Alicia was loved by everyone who knew her. Her friend Amanda Abram told the Sioux City Journal that she became close with Alicia because they helped each other through some tough times. Amanda said that Alicia had a happy and bubbly personality. She was able to stay positive and keep smiling no matter what was going on in her life. Others said that Alicia was loving, loyal, and was a trusting person who always saw the best in people. All right, so a lot of great things said about Alicia Hummel. I used to say, well, what are people going to say?
Exactly.
About someone, you know, who goes missing and is found murdered and all that. But we've done at least a few episodes where people have come out and said some pretty horrible things.
They have.
About the victims. It's not the norm, but, you know, it does sound like she was a very personable person. She loved her job. People loved her and she got along with people. You know, to stay positive, to stay bubbly, no matter what is going on in your life, that's not the easiest thing to do.
It's not.
You know, a lot of us kind of wear our emotions on our sleeves or, you know, on the outside. I'm that way.
Yeah.
I have a hard time smiling through something that's going really wrong in my life. It's hard for me.
It is hard for you and others, you know, and there's those people that do bottle it up and act like everything's happy.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's not good either, though, because eventually those feelings go somewhere or need to go somewhere.
They're going to break out and something bad's going to happen. Bethany told Dateline, people get so wrapped up in their own lives. They forget to be there for others. Alicia didn't. She always made time for those she loved, even when she may have needed their support more than they needed hers. And that's kind of an amazing statement about somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I know people like that.
Sure.
That they're so giving of themselves that they are more apt to kind of come to your aid when they know that you're not doing well than they are to ask for help when they're not doing well.
Right. Yeah.
Now you can say that's good and bad because I think it is.
Sure.
But it seems like that's the type of person that she was. It was also said that she had a lot of hobbies. She enjoyed scrapbooking, going to concerts, and participated in the Sioux City Roller Dames roller derby team.
Those are fun.
I used to watch, what was it, the Bay City Rollers, or they used to have roller derby on TV.
They did.
And I used to watch it. I was fascinated by it.
There's actually a derby team in Dayton.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's real or if it's more like professional wrestling, because there seemed to be a lot of theatrics going on in the roller derby scene.
Yeah.
Or if it's kind of half and half. I really don't know.
I think there needs to be some type of show.
Yeah, there's got to be some.
If you want an audience to show up.
So I kind of thought it was part professional wrestling where, you know, there's people getting hit, but they're not getting hit the way that you would think they are. And
controlled hitting.
You have to learn how to do it.
How to fall right.
I couldn't do it, though, because I can't roller skate. I used to be able to when I was little, but not anymore.
No good, huh?
Somehow I've lost coordination the older I've gotten.
Yeah, that happens.
It was also said that Alicia loved to spend time outdoors, doing things like camping and fishing. She enjoyed fishing to find peace of mind, according to the Sioux City Journal. So now this is something that I can really relate to. I used to play golf and find that to be somewhat peaceful if I was playing halfway decent. But, you know, I've got some bad shoulders. I can't play golf anymore. I do find a lot of peace in fishing.
Yeah.
You know, you're out on the water. Sometimes my daughter and I will go. We don't have to talk a lot. And it's just relaxing. It's peaceful.
It's been something consistent in your life, I think.
Yeah.
Fishing.
I've fished since I was a little kid. It was not uncommon for Alicia to go fishing by herself. According to Bethany Sfacina, Alicia liked to go on spontaneous adventures. For example, in the past, she had suddenly decided to go to concerts a few hours from home or to travel to a shrine in Nebraska. Sfacina told the Des Moines Register her life was very much by the moment, very much spontaneity. She just went with things. Alicia's grandmother, Jan Folkers, told Kilo Land News that Alicia had no fear, which was why she didn't hesitate to go places alone.
You know what? And nothing wrong with that. You know, I mean, sometimes you got to just be happy with who you are and what you want to do. And it sounds like that's what she was doing.
Yeah, I will say that I don't know a lot of people like this. You know, a lot of people in my life are very scheduled. You know, they like to schedule things.
Yeah.
And they like to have a plan. There's not many people in my life that come to me and say, hey, in 5 minutes, we're driving 2 states over to go see the biggest ball of twine. That does not happen very often.
No.
Now, when people say she had no fear, I think that's a good thing and a bad thing.
It can be both. Yeah.
I don't think a little fear is such a bad thing, because if you're completely without fear, then are you on guard? Do you even know what's going on around you? Because you have no fear whatsoever of anything bad happening to you.
Yeah. So
now, by the same token, you can't live your life in fear.
No, you can't.
To the point where it stops you from doing things and debilitates you. But I think a little fear is good.
Yeah, that way you at least have your head on a swivel.
Exactly. Alicia and her husband Tony separated in 2014 and were preparing to get divorced. Alicia was living with her grandparents in 2015. Amanda Abram told the Sioux City Journal that at the time of Alicia's death, she was finally on the path to find her own happiness after everything that she had just went through. And then that was just taken away from her. I mean, she didn't really get to fulfill any of it. And, we say this about so many victims, especially younger victims, because they have so much life to live. And I think we're going to see the same thing with Alicia. Then there's that whole question of, okay, what would they have gone on to do? It sounds like she was really starting kind of a new chapter in her life after the divorce and just kind of getting back on track, figuring out who she was. Alicia's 30th birthday was coming up in June 2015. She had plans to go out for the night with friends in Sioux City. According to the news website Inforum, Alicia had just accepted a new position and had a month off work between jobs. Other sources make it seem like Alicia was on summer vacation from her job at the family center. So there's a little bit of conflicting information out there. But I think whichever one it was, she wasn't working at the time. She had some time off.
And she was going to enjoy that time.
Yes. On June 1st, 2015, Alicia went fishing in Myron Grove, also known as the Highline area of Clay County, South Dakota. Alicia had been to this area by herself in the past. As far as anyone knows, Alicia went fishing alone that day. Clay County, South Dakota. My family is from Clay County, Kentucky.
Coincidence?
No, just a fun fact. Just a fun fact.
Have you ever been to South Dakota?
No, I never have.
Oh, okay.
I never have.
You need to get there.
I do. There's a lot of places I need to go that I have not been to in the United States.
Just have to find your way out of this basement.
That is true.
That's the first step.
That's the first step. Well, the first step is admitting I have a problem.
That's true.
The second step is getting out of this basement.
Yeah.
On May 31st, 2015, Alicia posted on Facebook, "I want to go fishing." At 10:53 a.m. the next day, she posted, "First day of vacay, I'm going fishing." Alicia left from her grandparents' house. Jan told Dateline about Alicia's decision to go fishing, saying she knew the divorce was coming closer and just wanted some time away for herself to think. And that's one thing that I think fishing really offers you, especially if you go alone.
Sure.
There's a ton of solace there.
You got plenty of time to think or reflect on life and decisions. And
you don't need to check your iPhone. You don't, need to have something blaring. You just sit there.
Stare out that water.
Exactly.
Watch your bobber.
But the other thing about this case that we've seen in cases that we've done that are more recent is that social media aspect, right? People are tracked by their social media posts, times, days. They're actually saying what they're getting ready to do. You wouldn't have had that in the past, pre-social media.
Of course not. No.
What you would have had is, okay, so-and-so called me on the phone and said they were going to do that.
Right. Or someone left a note on the table. Hey, gone fishing.
Yep, exactly. On her way out, she asked her grandfather if he would help her clean the fish she caught once she got home. This was the last time her grandparents saw her alive. And I always think about that. Unfortunately, in every one of these cases, there's always a last time.
Yeah.
That a loved one saw the victim alive. And in that moment, that would have been such a benign conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, will you help me clean the fish? Yeah, sure, no problem. And that's the end of it. Never dreaming that that's going to be the last conversation you have.
Those last words that you would hear from her.
Yeah. With that person. Alicia texted Amanda Abrams' daughter, Angel, to ask if she wanted to join her. According to the Sioux City Journal, Angel said she would come later. She waited for Alicia to reply, but she never did. Angel said that Alicia likely decided to go fishing without her and possibly meet up later. This was normal for her to do. Alicia often posted about her day on social media apps like Facebook and Snapchat. She posted Snapchat stories and sent snaps to friends that day. One of her first Snapchat stories of the day was a picture of her fishing pole sticking out of her sunroof with the text, "When your pole doesn't fit in your car."
Kind of like that.
Kind of funny.
Yeah.
She also took a picture as she was driving into South Dakota. At 12:51 p.m., she sent a message saying that she couldn't find her tackle box. At 1:06 p.m., Alicia stopped at Walmart in Vermillion, South Dakota to buy a fishing license. At 1:19, she sent a text about the person who gave her the license. The worker said he hoped she caught a big one. Okay, so she really was a person who was into kind of documenting everything.
Sure,
It
yeah.
sounds like either through text or Snapchat or on Facebook or whatever it is. She took a third picture as she entered Myron Grove with the text, "Finally, I've been waiting since fall." True Crime All the Time Unsolved is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Hey, TCAT listeners, whether you love true crime or comedies, celebrity interviews, news, or even motivational speakers, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue, right? And guess what? Now you can call the shots on your auto insurance too. Enter the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. The Name Your Price tool puts you in charge of your auto insurance by working just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, then they'll show you a variety of coverages that fit within your budget, giving you options. Now, that's something you'll want to press play on. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to choose the best option for you fast. It's just one of the many ways you can save with Progressive Insurance. Quote today at Progressive.com to try the Name Your Price tool for yourself and join the over 29 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Angie's List is now Angie, the home to skilled neighborhood professionals. Angie is your home for everything home, and they've made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. If you own a home, you know how much work it can take, whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality. It can be hard just to know where to start, but now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Angie has over 20 years of home service experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions, and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly. And all of that means you can take care of just about any home project in just a few taps, because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com. Alicia took a few Snapchat selfies on a boat dock at Myron Grove. No one else was seen in these photos. Alicia sent a Snapchat of the dock at Myron Grove at 1:30 p.m. Then at 1:45, Alicia sent a text to a friend stating that she saw two people having sex in a car. According to Sulan Proud, she wrote, "Apparently it's a nice day to get it on in the car, midday to LMAO."
So midday rendezvous at some dock for this couple in the car.
I guess so.
Maybe they didn't expect anybody to be there, and
I don't know why not. It was like 1:45 in the afternoon.
at a major.
It wasn't 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But then less than an hour later, Alicia's body was found in the water. So I think, it's part of the reason why some of this digital information is so important.
Sure.
Is there anything so far that really points us in a direction? Well, no. But it does kind of give a timeline of where she was, what she was doing at these certain points in time during the day.
Which you would think in any investigation would be very helpful.
Sure.
Because at least you have what might appear to be a starting time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Alicia's body was found near the boat dock at Myron Grove, the one that was shown in a Snapchat photo. The dock is located in a remote area along the Missouri River, 7 miles west of Vermillion, South Dakota. A game, fish, and wildlife boat ramp attendant found her in the water around 2 p.m. Both the state worker who found Alicia and a nearby resident saw a vehicle leaving the area. So is that, a possible clue, or is that just somebody who was there and knows nothing about it? You don't know. Just like these people having sex in the car. Is that important?
Yeah. We don't know, right? Did they see something? Could they have been involved? We don't know.
Yeah. Were they having a tryst and saw that they got caught and panicked? A lot of things go through your mind as possible theories. And I think in these cases, you never want to just throw anything out until you know what it means. The problem is we don't know what a lot of this means, and neither do the authorities. Alicia's car keys were found on the front seat of her vehicle. The window was down. Her fishing pole was missing and has never been found, as far as the public knows. So if it has been found, it's something that the police haven't disclosed. There was about 15 minutes between Alicia's last text and the time she was found. Clay County Sheriff Andy Howe told Inform in 2021, "We believe that we have a very narrow time frame between her arriving in the area, her being killed, and her being discovered. A very narrow time frame." And I would say that's true based on the communications that she sent out and the time that her body was found.
15 minutes. A lot can happen in 15 minutes. A lot.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's a very short amount of time as it relates to, a murder investigation.
For sure.
Howe also said that the Game, Fish, and Wildlife employee who found Alicia's body was not named, but he was questioned and was helpful to investigators. He gave a description of a vehicle that he saw before he found Alicia, but could not identify the make and model. And I do think that's a tough thing for many people. A lot of people are not good with makes and models of cars. Some people are great. My father-in-law could tell you every car from like the 1930s to now.
Yeah.
I swear. We go to a car show or something. He's like, that's a 1934 Graham with a
something engine,
ZZ top carburetor.
Yeah.
I don't even know what he's talking about half the time.
Yeah, he knows his cars.
He does. Alicia's family and friends reported her missing at 5:20 p.m. They learned about her death by 10:30 that evening. Amanda Abram recalled hearing from friends who were saying no one had heard from Alicia in a while. Amanda told the Sioux City Journal she was one of those people who was attached to her phone. She hoped that Alicia accidentally dropped her phone in the water, and that was why she stopped communicating with her friends. She was known for being somewhat clumsy.
Yeah, there are those people that just cannot put their phone down, that it's in their hands while they're eating dinner, when they work, when they do this, they do that. So I get it. Their friends are probably like, man, just take a break from that for a little bit. But hopefully it falls in the water. You can't use it.
Well, but to me, there's two different types of those people.
Yeah.
There's one type who's just glued to TikTok or Instagram or visual things, but they're not actually communicating.
Right.
My daughters fall into that category.
Yeah.
They don't communicate with anyone.
They're just watching.
But they're just watching something all the time. Now, it sounds to me as though Alicia was glued to her phone, but she was very much a communicator.
Yeah.
Texting, Snapchatting, posting on Facebook, things like that. And so for a person like that, if you don't hear from them, somebody that is constantly posting or texting or whatever, well, yeah, you're going to start to worry a little bit.
Yeah, you're going to ask, what's going on? What's happened?
If I don't receive a text from my daughter in a day or two, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Because I'm not expecting one.
Yeah, she doesn't text you a lot.
She's not a great communicator as far as texts or calls go.
Yeah. If you don't get a text from your wife, though.
If my wife doesn't call me on the way home from work, then I'm worried.
Sure.
Because it's like it's a routine.
It's like it's known, right?
Yep.
As soon as she gets in the car, she's calling
calls
you.
me.
Yeah.
Alicia's grandparents received a call from a detective informing them about her death. Jan Folkers told Kilo Land News he broke up and he said, "We're going to catch this son, this SOB." He stopped himself. Authorities investigated Alicia's death as a homicide. Her autopsy was performed on June 2nd, but the results were not immediately available. Clay County Sheriff Andy Howe said Alicia's husband, Tony, was not a suspect. According to the Sioux City Journal, Tony had an alibi. He was in Pierre, South Dakota, at the time Alicia was murdered. According to Kilo Land News, Pierre is about a 4-hour drive from Vermilion, South Dakota.
Okay, so that gives him a pretty decent alibi, I think.
Yeah, 4 hours, given that time frame. So what's special about Pierre?
I don't know.
I think it's the capital of South Dakota.
Is it?
I think so. I don't know. For some reason, I think it is.
Don't know.
I used to be really good with capitals, but
I've only been to Mitchell, South Dakota.
I never heard of that. But I think this is important to the investigation, right? Because Tony's going to be looked at very quickly.
Of course, yeah. Husband going through a divorce.
Definitely going to be on police radar.
Yeah.
Tony declined to give a comment to the Sioux City Journal after Alicia was killed. Bethany Svazina would later tell Kilo Land News in 2021, you just hope it's really bad coincidence that they were talking about divorce and they were going to go potentially sign papers in the next week. And again, that right there is going to make him a person of interest. Just those circumstances alone.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that, husband, soon to be ex-husband. But then you add on that you're getting ready to sign papers next week. Okay. The timing is not good.
But at least he has a good alibi. We've seen other cases where it looked like it was a good alibi, then an alibi eventually fell apart. But currently,
as it stands right now in the case,
alibi looks pretty good to the authorities.
It does. South Dakota authorities were searching for a dark sedan with tinted windows and a loud exhaust system that may be connected to the case. As we mentioned earlier, witnesses reported the vehicle in the area around the time of Alicia's death. Investigators were also searching for her cell phone. Sheriff Howe said on June 3rd, as quoted by the Sioux City Journal, there are several people we'd like to talk to, but there isn't anybody I'd name as a suspect at this time. And I think you have to be really careful about calling someone a suspect.
I think so.
Strong.
Sure it is.
To come out and say that. You can say there are people that are, persons of interest or this person, we'd like to talk to. Howe said the people in the car were not necessarily suspects, but they wanted to talk to them to ask if they saw anything suspicious. Alicia's preliminary autopsy findings were made public on June 9th. It was determined that she suffered blunt force trauma to the head and incision wounds to the neck.
Okay. Learning a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, that's, very descriptive, I would say. Doesn't necessarily tell us how she died, but obviously incision to me means instrument. Now, maybe I'm right on that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think a medical examiner would call, falling into the water and cutting yourself on the side of the dock.
Right.
An incision wound. Maybe they would. Could you hit your head on a rock and therefore get blunt force trauma and drown and all that? I don't know. I'm taking incision wound to be like a cut made by a man-made instrument.
That's why I'm taking it as well.
Investigators still didn't have her cell phone at this point, but Sheriff Howe said several unidentified pieces of evidence were being processed in the state crime lab.
Well, I think the cell phone would be a big piece of evidence here to have.
Well, me too. And I was potentially kind of thinking that she was such an avid poster, and it sounds like she took a lot of pictures. Could there possibly be a picture on that phone? Maybe even a movie, a quick video.
Right.
Maybe it was a picture of the car, of the people that were, having sex in the car, or we don't know.
No.
But I'm with you. There could be a very important piece of evidence. On June 24th, 2015, the authorities released new information about Alicia's final autopsy report. Alicia died of drowning with contributing circumstances of blunt force head injuries and an incised wound on her neck. According to a release from the South Dakota Attorney General's office, she tested negative for alcohol or controlled substances. So there's not much new there other than she died of drowning. They list the contributing circumstances of blunt force trauma and this incised wound on her neck, which I'm still not sure about exactly what that entails. But the important thing is that she died of drowning.
So was she knocked out, fell into the water, or placed in the water? And then obviously that's when the drowning is.
Yeah. Or did she fall in the water, hit her head? I mean, you can look at it a couple different ways. Investigators have not released Alicia's autopsy to her family after the release of her official cause of death. Sheriff Andy Howe said there were no suspects, but they were checking Alicia's phone records, suspicious vehicles, and tips. He confirmed again that Tony Hummel was not a suspect. According to the Sioux City Journal, Howe said it was obvious that there was an assault, although the injuries from the assault didn't cause her death, although I'm certain that they may have contributed to the drowning. He also noted, we're following up on quite a few leads. It's very time consuming. We're fairly active at this point. Okay, all good things, right? You want to hear that from the police.
Sure.
We're following up on leads. We're active. But the other important thing is that he's coming out and saying this was no accident, right? Very obvious in his words that there was an assault.
Yeah, there's a crime here.
Yes. In 2016, local college students found Alicia's purse on a sandbar in the river. Her cash, credit cards, and other personal items were still inside, but her cell phone was missing. So it's kind of amazing that they found it, the next year. And to me, this kind of probably rules out robbery as the motive because there's cash there. And that alone, to me, kind of rules it out.
So you're right. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's robbery. It just makes you wonder, how did the purse get there? Was it just on her person when she fell in the water and eventually found its way to the sandbar? Or did somebody toss it towards that direction?
Or place it in the water in a strategic location. We don't know. There were still no arrests or official suspects a year after Alicia was murdered. Clay County Sheriff Andy Howe assured the public that tips were still coming in. He told the Sioux City Journal, we're following up on a lot of tips and leads that are pointed at certain people. It's something we're working on so often. It's still an active case.
It has to be frustrating, though. There was a 15-minute window of time of opportunity. And here we are just a little bit more than a year later with no answers.
Well, I think one of the big problems is this wasn't an area teeming with people. So you're not going to have a ton of witnesses. You only had a couple people who said they saw, a car, and they didn't give much of a description of the car. Not like you had a license plate number, didn't even have the make and model. I did think it was interesting that, the sheriff came out and said that a lot of tips and leads coming in, but he said they're pointed at certain people. So the question that ran through my mind was, are they getting a lot of tips about a few people?
Right.
Or is each tip naming somebody different? We don't know.
They're really holding everything pretty close to the vest, aren't they?
Which I think is fairly normal. We talk about it quite a bit, in an unsolved case. How much do you really want to put out there? And it's a fine line, right? You got to put some stuff out because you need the public's help. You need the leads and tips, but you don't want to put anything out that would, maybe name someone or obviously hurt the investigation in any way.
Right.
Howe said he could not comment on the lab analysis of evidence at the crime scene. He did say that his office had received help from the South Dakota Division of Criminal Investigation and the FBI for help with profiling DNA evidence and compiling psychological profiles. And my first thought is a psychological profile is probably going to be pretty tough.
I think so.
In this one, I just don't know that you have a lot to go on. Alicia's friends, Jody Hansen and Bethany Sfazina, set up a Facebook page called Fighting for Justice for Alicia Hummel To raise awareness about her case, this page is still active. 2 more years passed without any real new information in the case. Bethany said in a phone interview with the Des Moines Register in 2018, "We don't have any more news than we did on June 1st, 2015. That's the hardest part. We don't have answers. Will there be answers?" Her grandparents are getting older. For the family, you pray there are answers.
Absolutely. And you hope that answers come in. But again, it's been a pretty good amount of time with nothing new, no new information. So either the police don't have anything new or the police are just not willing to share it.
Yeah, it could be either one. She also said, if you did that brutal of a murder, what's going to stop you from doing it again? That's what's scary to being that close to that community. It could be someone going to the grocery store. That's a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
Right? Someone killed Alicia Hummel. Now, is that person a part of the community? Is this a person that you see every now and then shopping at the local convenience store, the supermarket, the hardware store? Maybe.
Makes you look at people a little differently.
It does. Law enforcement have said over the years that they cannot release more information because it's still an open case. Sheriff Howe said in an interview with the Des Moines Register in May 2018, "There's certain information you want to make sure is unknown, except to us and the killer. The goal is to successfully prosecute the case." And we hear that all the time.
We do.
Right? From law enforcement. We can't give you everything we've got because that would hurt us down the road if and when we find someone and try to prosecute them.
We'd like to share it.
Sure.
Yeah, but we can't.
Sheriff Howe said he was puzzled as to how nobody would have been at Myron Grove on the afternoon of June 1st, 2015, because according to him, it's a relatively busy area and no one had come forward to report seeing anything strange that day. According to the Des Moines Register, the only road in or out of Myron Grove forks a few yards before the dock. One road branches to private properties and another road branches to a public fishing and water sport area. There are 2 parking lots separated by a line of trees, a smaller parking lot near the ramp, and a larger one to park trucks and boat trailers. There is room for 1 boat to be loaded into the water next to a dock, but in the summer, the dock area is hidden by trees. It's not visible until you're on the water. This is an unstaffed area. The only people who regularly go to the area are game, fish, and parks employees who walk through and pick up trash. And I think for a lot of places like this, it's not out of the norm. You got a boat ramp.
Sure.
It's not like they're paying somebody to stand there.
No.
And direct traffic or, help people. Most of the time when you go to put a boat in the water, you're on your own. Now that may be different at some lakes, big lakes or whatever, but the lakes that I'm used to, there's nobody standing there.
No, you're on your own.
Yeah.
And most of these places don't even have surveillance cameras up.
No, I would think not. What I want to go back to is Sheriff Howe saying this is a relatively busy area. Okay, it's 1:45, 2 p.m. How many people were there? And if there were more people, why haven't some of those people come forward?
Yeah.
Is it possible that they didn't know that something tragic happened and that the police would have liked to talk to them? I'm sure this received a lot of coverage.
Yeah, I think
you just never know.
Probably out there, right? Because they should have heard about it.
Should have. Sheriff Howe said they were still receiving tips about the dark vehicle that was reported at the crime scene. Some people called and claimed they saw a dark colored car driving on the interstate, and others said they knew someone with a dark car who would do something like this. And these are the kind of tips that, obviously police have to wade through.
Yeah.
You have a vendetta against somebody, you think they're a likely killer, and they happen to drive a dark car.
Yeah.
So you call them in.
It's a lot of time.
It is. Because, those people have to be vetted. Those tips have to be vetted. Howe emphasized that the case hadn't gone cold, saying it's not a cold case if we're following up on leads. We've maintained this as a focus. He also said that after Alicia's husband was ruled out as a suspect, investigators moved on to her family and friends, who were also ruled out as suspects. Time continued to pass without any answers. Investigators have provided updates about the case, but those updates don't reveal many details. And that's something we see in a lot of unsolved cases. Yeah. It's frustrating, but it is somewhat normal. The authorities may have more details. They're just not keen on, throwing them out. In 2019, Sheriff Howe told the Sioux City Journal that a murder weapon was never found. He said they were still sending evidence to the forensics lab and still investigating several suspects, but any additional information was being kept private to protect the investigation.
This evidence that they're sending, I wonder what it is.
Yeah, I did too, because why now? Is this new evidence that they've just acquired? Or is it taken them this long to send it to the forensics lab?
Yeah. And what is it?
Yeah, I don't know. In 2021, Keloland news reporter Angela Konecki spoke with Sheriff Howe for updates in the case. He told her, there are people we have not ruled out. We do have suspects, but we don't have a case. Konecki asked Howe if perhaps Alicia was killed by someone she knew. He answered, we don't have any indication that was the case, that this was anything other than a stranger and a crime of opportunity.
Yeah, I wonder if these are the same suspects he had back then in the beginning of the investigation.
Or completely different ones. We don't know. Or a mix.
That's true.
But you can have all the suspects you want. He said we don't have a case. If you don't have a case against anyone, then you don't really have anything.
Nothing you can do about it.
Law enforcement contends that Alicia might have seen something on the day she was killed, and that was why she was murdered. However, her friends and family have difficulty believing she was killed randomly. So, I think there's a couple of theories here that he's throwing out. Stranger, crime of opportunity. We know that happens. We've covered it many, many times. I do feel like that would be a strange place to just hope that a woman comes along alone to go fishing.
Yeah. Who knew she was there, right? Besides people that follow her on her social media accounts, the clerk that handed her fishing license at a little after 1 o'clock, wished her luck on getting the big one.
But did he even know where she was going?
Yeah. Did she tell him, maybe in conversation? We don't know.
We don't know. Then you're telling me he got off that quickly and made it out there. Right. So that part for me is a little hard. I'm not saying it's impossible. What maybe to me is more plausible is that she did see something that someone didn't want her to see.
Yeah, maybe she took a picture, or they thought she took a picture of the vehicle that these two individuals were in. Maybe somebody in that car wasn't supposed to be there.
Right. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Or, maybe didn't have anything to do with the two people in the car.
That's true.
But it was another car and it was a drug deal. You could go down a bunch of different avenues or theories. Jan Volker said she was told about a pair of men's shoes that were found at the scene that resembled shoes worn by a restaurant worker. Jan also said that investigators told her they put up surveillance cameras and took around 2,000 pictures, but nothing seemed to come from this. Alicia's family believes that she tried to fight her killer because of her injuries that they saw at her funeral. Jan Volker said in her interview with Keloland News, they had her hands folded and we could see that one of her fingers was broken. So we knew that she struggled. I assumed it was to hang on to that phone. That phone was her Bible. It had everything in it. Her family also believes that Alicia's fingers may have contained DNA evidence because her fingernails were black from where investigators checked for DNA. Howe said in his 2021 interview with the news outlet Inform that no one had come forward so far, which led to suspicion that the people involved were in the dark-colored vehicle seen at Myron Grove. However, investigators have not been able to talk to the individual or individuals in the vehicle to determine who they are, what they might have seen, or to what extent they were involved. Alicia's texts about the people in the car did not provide a description of any kind. Well, so here's my thought. Obviously, if you were a person or one of the people in that car and you were involved in the murder, you're not coming forward.
Of course not.
So you're not going to be able to talk to them.
I'm sure they wish that she had a description of that car in her social media messages.
Or picture with the license plate number. Yeah. Obviously that would have been a big help. But if it wasn't, someone in this dark colored sedan, then what are we back to? Just a random person who saw a crime of opportunity. Again, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It just seems like in that area on a lake near a boat dock doesn't seem like a place where someone would go hunting, for the lack of a better term.
Right. I mean, the other possibility that we haven't really covered is that someone could have pulled up on a boat. Maybe they chose to do something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not a possibility. The problem with the boat is that you're not assured like a getaway.
That's true.
Like you are in a car. You're not assured a getaway, but it's much easier to get away from the scene, I think, in a car. Again, it's depending on how big of a body of water this is.
Right.
Because we said there was only one boat dock. So you're going to pull up and kill somebody there, but eventually have to take your boat out of that same boat dock?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
No.
I mean, I see where you're going with a possible theory. Sheriff Howe couldn't say what type of evidence they had. He was also not at liberty to discuss the murder weapon or weapons, but did indicate that the cut on Alicia's neck was intended to cause harm and was not the byproduct of a struggle. He wouldn't respond to questions about whether or not she was sexually assaulted. So, I think there's the answer to the question that I posed earlier. Was this a cut from some type of man-made object or, instrument? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
This wasn't a cut that she sustained while falling or, something like that. According to Inforum, Tony's wife, Sarah, was questioned by law enforcement, but Sheriff Howe said she was questioned multiple times and was cooperative.
So obviously Tony got remarried at some point.
And it makes sense that they would want to talk to her just to make sure that, nothing was disclosed to her or but why would she give it up if it was?
Right.
On December 6, 2021, Sheriff Andy Howe admitted that investigators have Alicia Hummel's cell phone. It was found at Myron Grove, but Howe wouldn't say how or when it was found or what kind of evidence they found on the phone.
That's some pretty big information to let out there.
It really is. I think what's troubling is, we don't know when it was found. So we don't know how long they had it. Did they sit on it for, a number of years? We just don't know the answer. Radio station KYNT released a statement from Andy Howe on June 1st, 2022. Howe said, "We've had some new developments and leads in this past year that have generated quite a bit of interest and quite a bit of work for us. So we've been actively following up on that information. Not a lot I can say about at this point. We still want to have a successful prosecution when the time comes, but I do have considerable optimism that we will be getting somewhere with this case." And I found that statement to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for him to come out and say that. He could just say, we continue to work on the case. We work on any leads and tips that come in. But to say that he, has a lot of optimism, it almost makes it sound like these new developments and leads are going somewhere. But again, everything's so cryptic.
It's kind of hard to figure out what's really being said.
Yep. There's currently a $5,000 reward for information in the case. If you have any information about the murder of Alicia Hummel, you can contact the Clay County Sheriff's Office at 605-677-7100. The murder of Alicia Hummel is still unsolved 8 years later. But I think based on Sheriff Howe's statements, it seems as though investigators are trying to build a solid case so that they can prosecute one or more individuals for her murder. But because of the active investigation and the fact that, they're not releasing everything they have, Alicia's family, friends, and really the public are left with so many questions. You and I have a ton of questions.
Yeah.
We just don't have the answers to them.
Don't.
Who would want to kill Alicia Hummel? We said it very early on. This was a woman who had no known enemies, was not known to be involved in any criminal activity. It seems as though, she had some things of value with her that day in her purse. Her vehicle was left. We know they found her purse, right? It kind of rules out the whole robbery angle.
Yeah, I think so.
I keep going back to this possibility that we've talked about a number of times where it's possible she witnessed something. Maybe it was illegal, maybe it wasn't illegal, but somebody didn't want her to have seen what she saw.
Yeah.
And that someone wanted to kill her, to keep her from talking, or maybe to get their hands on a cell phone if they thought she possibly took a picture.
Yeah. I just keep thinking of she sent that text message at 1:45 saying she just witnessed a couple having sex in a car. By 2:00,
her body's found.
So that's 15 minutes. It makes you feel like whatever was happening in that car, those people didn't like it.
Oh, I think they liked what was going on in the car.
Well, yeah, they didn't like that she knew what was going on in the car, and maybe they or somebody in that car confronted her, and things just got bad.
Yeah, went south from there.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. There's a lot of questions that we may never have the answers to, but I'm kind of hopeful based on the sheriff's statements that it seems, at least, according to him, that there might be some updates in the case coming up in the next year or so.
Sounds promising.
It does sound promising. Now, he could just be blowing smoke.
It could be. Maybe he's just trying to get some individuals rocked a little bit too.
Yeah, could be. Or he just wants the public to feel reassured that they're working it. So he's saying he's optimistic, but really there's nothing solid. Again, I don't know, but
I feel like this could get solved.
I do too. I feel like because of the amount of time, and now all of a sudden he's coming out and saying, okay, we've got new developments, we've got new leads. He's optimistic.
Yeah.
Why say that, essentially last year or whenever it was,
2020, yeah.
If it was just about a year ago,
right?
If there wasn't something there that they were working on.
Yeah.
Now, it can often take quite a while to build a solid case.
Yeah, we know that.
Enough to charge somebody with murder. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's it for our episode on the unsolved murder of Alicia Hummel. This is one that, obviously a lot of people would like to see solved. We would like to see it solved. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Don't forget, no episode next week.
That's right.
Gibby and I are taking a vacation. We got some voicemails, though. You want to check those out before we go?
Let's hear them.
Hi, guys. It's Kimmy from Louisiana. I just got done with the TCAT all the time, and I'm starting Unsolved. And I'm noticing why people like Gibby a lot, because he talks a lot more on Unsolved. But the reason I'm calling is because Christine Jessup's murder was actually solved. It was her dad's coworker's husband, and I didn't hear an update on it, so just thought I'd let y'all know if y'all didn't know already. And Team TCAT, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate that voicemail. We did see that. We haven't really figured out a great way to give updates on solved cases that we did on Unsolved.
Yeah, we have to figure out how to do that eventually, huh?
Yeah.
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 Is that the obvious?
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to point that out. It's hard because you're doing a brand new case.
Sure.
Do you do the update in front of the brand new case? Do you do an entire episode of nothing but updates? We just haven't figured it out yet.
Maybe you put like a little rubber stamp, updated.
Rubber stamp on what?
I don't know. You're the genius.
No, I don't think that works.
Hey, Mike and Gibby, this is Joe from Charleston, South Carolina calling. Was listening to the TCAT Unsolved Chris Kremer's Lisa Ann Froon case. That is such a difficult one. All the theories floating around, what could have happened to him. And as I was listening, you all mentioned in there about the photos that were taken from like 1 in the morning till 4 o'clock. And then it's just, nothing but like the jungle and the rocks and the bag and all that stuff. And my theory that I had about when I heard about that was it possible, because they're in the dark, that they were using the flash to find out where they were at? And, maybe they were trying to conserve like the phone battery, and because I know the flashlight on the phone battery can, drain quick. So maybe they were just taking flash photography to see where they were at, maybe try to find their way through the dark. I mean, that's my theory about maybe all the pictures, but I'm super stumped after listening to that case. Anyway, love the show. Keep up the great work. Stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
No, it's a great take. I didn't really think about that because just kind of thought, oh, well, you'd use the flashlight, or, you could even just hit the phone and kind of use the glow off the phone. Doesn't give you a ton of light, but
that's a good theory.
But yeah, the fact that the flashlight would maybe drain the battery. Now, I would have thought the flash on the camera would drain the battery, but I don't know the comparison between the two. But I go back to that case, and it is, like he said, it's a stumper.
It is,
man, because there's so many different cobwebs, theories, and things that are coming at you. It's almost like overload on that one. That's it for another episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
It's a streaming hot summer on Pluto TV, featuring hit blockbusters during popcorn summer movies. Watch Mark Wahlberg try and solve a murder in Four Brothers, or go on an adventure with an Indiana Jones movie marathon. Plus, Pluto TV has hundreds of channels with thousands more movies, available live and on demand. Download Pluto TV on all your favorite devices for free. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.